evento.
Bom dia a todas e todos. Contribuir para a formulação de políticas.
Good morning, everyone.
contributing to the formulation of policies to stimulate the insertion of women in the job market and in management and leadership positions is one of the competencies established at the National Forum of Businesswomen, an initiative of the National Confederation of Industry, CNI. The group will be set up of 30 female executives, and its goals are to create and monitor strategies to promote the increase of diversity and female leadership in the Brazilian business sector. In addition to signing the launch of the National Forum of Businesswomen by the president of CNI, we will have two panels on access to financing with the participation of the Productivity and Competitiveness Secretary from the Ministry of Economy, Daniella Marques, the president of the Standard Bank, Natalia Diaz, vice president of Santander, Patricia Audi, vice president of Caixa Econômica Federal, Celso Leonardo Barbosa, and the future of the energy industry, with the presence of President of AES, Clarissa Sadok, President of WTC India, Care Onisa from the Vice President of Comerc, Pedro Kubre, and the Advisor of the Chamber of Commercialization of Electric Power, CCEE, Rosie Santos. The debates will be mediated by journalist Marina Machado. Welcome, everyone, to the National Business Women Forum. This event is in hybrid format, in person at the CNI studio in Brasilia and through YouTube of CNI in Portuguese and English. For the opening of this event, we would like to invite the president of the Confederation of National Confederation of Industry, Mr. Robson Braga de Andrade. Good morning to you all, ladies. It is a great pleasure to welcome you here to start this project that I am sure has started with great success. I'd like to greet the Special Secretary of Productivity and Competitiveness of the Economy Ministry, Daniella Marques, who has boosted the work of businesswomen in Brazil and created, along with the Ministry of Economy, special programs geared to them, female audience. To greet Monica Monteiro, who today takes over the chair position of this National Women Forum coordinated by CNI. Congratulations, Monica. Also, I'd like to greet Cristine Samorino, chair of the Federation of Industries of the state of Espírito Santo, part of the board of CNI. I'd like to greet Natalia Diaz, who is the chairwoman of Standard Bank. I thank and also greet the vice chairman of Caixa Econômica Federal, Celso Barbosa, chair of Santander, Patricia, the board of the Chamber of Electric Power, CEE, Rosie Santos, and the TCU chair, José Múcio Monteiro, with us, the ambassador from Barbados to Nicodem, the ambassador, the wife of Ambassador Lisa India from India, the chairman of National Sebrae, Carlos Neves, and also greet our friend, businessman, chairman, and founder of Mafrig, Marcos Molina. Today I discovered that to bring Marcos Molina to CNI, I have to invite Marcia. When Marcia is here, Marcos comes along. Today is a very special day for us to launch this National Businesswomen Forum, because 25th of May is the day we celebrate the National Day of Industry, which has, in 1948, the death of, exactly on this day, the death of businessman Roberto Simonsi, who is the patron of the national industry. On the past few years, we have discussed a lot the Brazilian industry issue that has been 33% of GDP. Today it's 21% of the GDP. And many people talk about deindustrialization, and actually there is a mix between deindustrialization and also changes of industrial activities that have moved more towards the service sector, as, for example, great part of vertical, they today have their activities spread in service sectors that do not add to the industrial Brazilian product. But we are totally certain that women that have taken on major roles in the Brazilian economy, in the lives of all Brazilians, and also in society, that actually this entrepreneurship, this drive, this willingness, knowledge, intelligence, and determination that women have will certainly make the Brazilian industry to be able to grow in the next few years and get back to being on an outstanding position. We, for some years, have carried out several surveys to get to know the positioning of women, how women are positioning themselves regarding business work. And until a few years ago, women were more shyly taking part in companies. And today they stand out in all companies, and industrial corporations, fortunately to us, is not different. What perhaps some years ago women would take on positions that were more on the management and administration in human resources. Today, you see women taking part at plants in industrial programs, working on machines and devices that previously were for men. And on the other hand, with the advance of technology in industry moving towards 4.0, this has brought great opportunity for women to take part. Since here you have this work of intelligence, which is a lot of concentration, ability, coordination, and leadership. And I am certain that with this whole group, with the leadership of Monica and Christine, with the support of Daniela, the secretary, we're going to be very successful in this national forum. And CNI that today counts on around 700,000 companies that are members of the federations and National Confederation of Industry, companies of various sizes from micro, small to the large corporations. CNI has this very, well, actually fantastic work in the area of professional training and quality of life, health, and occupational safety. For a few years, CNI has been investing a lot in technology and computer sciences. We have 26 innovation institutes spread around the country with the support of major intelligence and knowledge centers from the world, the Fraunhofer Center or Institute, MIT, institutes from France, Switzerland, from the US, and those institutes have been responsible for developing major projects and great products. And I put them available to you, Monica, to the business women, to the companies, so that these institutes can also work for all the companies that are part of the forum. We also have 62 technology institutes with great international partnerships, and in the business mobilization for coordination that is coordinated by CNI, some executives that are here also participate of the MEI, National Mobilization for Innovation. We made an agreement with a company called SOSTA that has the largest platform in the world for open source innovation. This company works with thousands of startups in the world. And our agreement now is for Brazilian startups to take part in this platform. And through this platform, this world platform, we would take our startups abroad as well. And we're also going to conduct a program along with SOSA and Open Innovation. We're going to carry out the pilot project that we're starting in the state of Paraná so that we can have an outreach through this Open Innovation project to the small companies. Senai will subsidize part of it, and so another part, so that we can take to the Brazilian startups the possibility to access the open source platform. And I'd like to say that at CNI, it is not at all different. Women have been taking increasingly more outstanding positions at CNI. Today, over 60% of our associates are women, and our board today secretary is 50% made up of women and 50% made up of men. We are moving on steadily, and the 50% men have to be careful. Otherwise, we're going to have 100% women on our board. Thank you very much. Congratulations to all of you. Thank you very much for the support you've been giving us, Secretary Monica. I wish you great success. Count on CNI, the whole structure that we have from SESI and SENAI, and of the Evaldo Monte Institute. Thank you very much.
Please, Mr. Braga, remain on stage for the signing ceremony. Right now, the chair of the Federation of Industries will sign the launch of the forum, of the National Business Women Forum. The forum includes as its chair, Mônica Monteiro, and members, Ana Maria Curado Mata, Ana Beatriz Costa, Ana Cabral, Ana Cláudia Badra, Ana Fontes, Beatriz Guimarães, Clarissa Sadoc, Cristine Samorini, Daniella Mignani, Elisa Solman, Graziele Parente, Isabel Itikawa, Janete Vaz, Laura de Oliveira, Lita Espíndola, Márcia Esteves, Márcia Santos, Mariane Feldman, Natalia Diaz, Raquel Maia, Rosie Santos, Rosana Sadir, Samantha Pineda, Sandra Costa, and Tania Reis. We would like to thank President Braga and invite him to take his seat. And now we give the floor to the president of the forum, Mônica Monteiro. I'm nervous. And I would like to begin by thanking enormously President Robson Braga and this house, which has opened this very special venue for us for female emancipation. All the members here are hands-on chairwomen. They work very hard for women's emancipation. And we want always to reach out for more women to join us. I would like to thank you for your trust. We will all live up to this task very well, myself and all the others. I'm sure mostly of the others. I would like to refer to a novel of Clarice Lispector. Very few people know, but she was born in Ukraine, and for many years she lived in my hometown of Recife. And therefore, she had some of our Northeastern accent. And this accent and this culture brought to Clarice some of the Brazilian soul, which helped her to describe a character, Macabel, from Alagoas. And Clarice herself should be the protagonist of her own story, but she refused this, and mostly because she thought that she had a secondary relevance as a woman, that we are always satisfied with the leftovers and never take the stage. So Macabea reminds us of ourselves, always fighting for something, but this protagonism is rightly deserved, and this is why we're here. Tragically, Macabea only reached the top when she died. But she said on her deathbed, the future is me. I am the future. And here we are the future. Present and future are united here in the studio. And yesterday I heard that we are men and women along this journey of bringing change to society. 45 years is the time span between Clarice Lispector's novel and today. And we have advanced greatly. We advanced in rights and freedom, and we are fighting, and we have a feeling of sorority, of support, and of alliance. That's what brought all these women from different states of Brazil to be with us today in this forum. Conquests were enormous, but there is still a lot to do, and we have to be fast. Why? Well, just giving you a few figures. In 2018, the World Economic Forum said that we need 2 centuries to reach equality in the labor market. Other segments like health, education, and politics, we will need 108 years to reach gender equality. These are centuries. Nobody can be happy with this situation. It is because of this that we are here today. And therefore, I thank President Robson Braga again to open this space for our protagonism. Not only him, but also President Melis, who has been working so strongly for women's causes. We are 28 million women looking for space in the labor market. Motivating more women to occupy this space is urgent in our society. The research from 2018 shows that 8% of the functions in Brazilian corporations are occupied by women, and in the world 19 or 16.9. On the other hand, the International Labor Organization says that when you have an economy with diversity in the corporations have more engagement, and their profits are 5 to 20% higher. So it is worthwhile to invest in women. Actually, this happens in the business world, but it represents our society and the role of women, who we are and what we want. We want leadership. Yes, we do. We want the conditions for women to work, to take their dreams, their maturity, to open their organizations, to provide jobs to women and to many more women. And this is the purpose of the forum, to acknowledge that Brazilian industry is open for women entrepreneurs to exchange and do business in this venue, not only in Brazil, but all over the world, because wherever we look, there are opportunities for us to work. President of WIC, or the WTC in India, have been encouraging the inclusion of women. They are crossing the Atlantic and bringing many women to Brazil. And this is our role in this forum, to reconnect women. Therefore, Brazilians need to get aware of international experiences and adapt them to Brazil, innovate them, as our president said today, to bring more innovation and technology. We are living a very confusing technological advance, and therefore we need to know other women in the world to show the excellent products and services that we provide here. We will bring more learning lessons to Brazil and showcase our own business women. And therefore, I invite you to go to other places, Janetti and Sandra, together with us. And finally, I will say that the history of women's rights is a very slow and painful process, as we saw in the past history. And it's a long time until we can convince justice of all the stories, but nothing will bring more actual change than women with financial independence, with better access to credit, with more positions in organizations. And here I would like to thank Daniella, who has been tireless in the fight to ensure credit for small, medium, and large businesses belonging to women, so that we can work even more. And financial freedom today is the main topic for women's autonomy. I am sure that this group is totally capable, this financial group that you see here is totally capable of helping us in this feat, and we will bring a fairer world to all of us. I also want to thank somebody whose birthday is also today, my father, and he is the one who inspired me and moved me on. Today is his birthday. Unfortunately, he is not here with me to celebrate. I am so grateful to him for having taught me to face my fears. We can dominate this. Some people call this courage, but some people really have it. And ending again with Clarice Lispector, she said, we are that which is impossible for us. And she is right, because whenever the woman faces something that seems impossible, it becomes possible. Whenever we see the impossible, we turn it into a possible reality. Thank you. Thank you, President Monica Monteiro, for your words, and we congratulate the members of the National Business Women Forum. And we will start our first panel, Access to Funding. In CNI studio in Brasilia, we have the Special Secretary for Productivity and Competitiveness in the Ministry of Economy, Daniella Marques, President of Standard Bank, Natalia Diaz, the Vice President of Caixa Econômica Federal, Celso Leonardo Barbosa, Vice President of Santander Bank, Patricia Audi, and the moderator, a journalist from TV Brazil, Marina Machado. You have the floor, Marina. Thank you very much. Good day to all. I was talking to Kier Nisa now, and for her, it is already nighttime. Good morning to all. I am a journalist and also an entrepreneur in the area of communication in the communication industry. Congratulations to all these wonderful women. And I have a text prepared, but I would like to comment on Monica's words. She said that it has been very slow until this point. It has been, it was, and see that now, from now on, we can bring change. And this is very inspiring and wonderful. But I would also like to bring some more words. Investing in women is investing in growth. And it is not my words, it's the European Investment Bank, which estimates that giving women equal opportunities can generate $160 trillion in wealth with a better use of human resources. And diversity in companies also bring better results. Companies with a strong representation of women in their board have 28% greater chance than their peers. And for business women, executives, 25% better chances. These are actual figures. So women are underrepresented in venture capital, for instance. Even when they open startups, for them it is harder to obtain funds. Entrepreneur women have only obtained 1 to 2% of venture capital in 2021 when we think of the US and Europe only. Barring women from economic activity by not supporting their businesses or supporting their ideas and experiences is a burden for the overall economy, and it limits the chance to face major issues such as climate change. We will be talking about ESG, Patricia. Investing in women helps to create brand loyalty. This is so important. Companies that invest in women bring something that socially conscious investors respond to, especially millennials, who are the #1 investors in the capital markets of the future decades. So I repeat that we must support more business women, not only because it is ethical and socially correct, but because it does pay off very much. So with this provocation, I introduce to you Patricia Audi, Vice President of Santander Bank. Thank you for being with us. I would like to ask you to introduce yourself and also shed some light to us on what Santander can bring to us. A round of applause for Patricia. Good morning. Thank you, Marina. It is an enormous responsibility to speak after President Braga, to whom I also thank for inviting me. And Monica, your origin in the north of Brazil is a great expression of our country. And I see many friends here, such as Janete and Sandra. Danielle, it is wonderful to be with you, and also all the other speakers. I am here representing Ana Patricia Botin, chairwoman of Santander Bank, who unfortunately could not come today and asked me to replace her. And replacing her is a very big responsibility because Santander, and Santander Brazil especially, has 30% of its board represented by women. And our executive board is also has 40% of women. So fortunately, we will arrive soon at 50%, which is our target. We also have diversity goals, President Braga, with which we have 30% of women leaders in Santander. This is our reality, but by 2025, we want to have 40%. This is still not sufficient, not because we are 52% of the workforce in the bank, but we're getting there. And therefore, it is important to define targets and meet them. Now, talking about access to credit and female entrepreneurship after the pandemic is even more important. Official data show us that 6 million women in 2020 lost their jobs. This rate is 5% higher than among men. Many of these women are entrepreneurs. I brought a cheat sheet because this data is very important. Women are 20% less candidates to job positions because they need to fill in 100% of the requirements for these positions. Santander, 19 years ago or for 19 years has had the greatest private credit program in the country. I don't know if you're aware of that. It is called Prospera. We had 14.6 billion in credit given, 1.8 million people serviced in these 19 years. Today, our portfolio includes 728,000 active clients. This microcredit is given in approximately 2 hours in an iPad, using an iPad, and it gives the chance for people to use this as overhead capital for their smaller enterprises. And the best part of the program is that 65% of the members of the program or of the grantees are women, and their rate of default is much lower. We must not forget that.
Today, we are present in 1,600 municipalities, and yet what makes a difference is that the average ticket, average loan of this portfolio is 3,300 reais. With 3,300 reais, we managed to change the reality of the micro enterprise, especially generated by women. We're talking about women in communities that many times they sell the deep fried chicken, the popcorn, and we realize the importance and social impact of measures like these. Is this enough? Not at all. We still need to do much more. Of our total credit portfolio in the bank, 44% is contemplated by women. I believe that we were talking about this previously on the possibility of providing more or fostering to make it easier to encourage these business enterprises, or on behalf of chairwomen and Patricia Botinho and Sergio Leão, we are available to foster or further drive the economy. I'd like to understand, Patricia, perhaps Patricia is going to ask the same question. What is the importance of the financial institution to reduce these barriers women have to access credit? Many times, the financial system is seen as a villain, but actually banks, especially the COVID during the pandemic, when we see in a healthcare crisis, financial institutions have actually promoted and helped greatly our economy. And we have Caixa Econômica, our national savings bank, especially in serving this sector of micro and business people that require at given time. When we had unprecedented situation like this, but we had financial crisis, but never had we had financial crisis followed by a healthcare crisis. There was no handbook as to how to go about it, and especially regarding the encouragement of the government, the financial system was ready to access these business people and micro entrepreneurs so that we could rescue their dignity and survival of many of those businesses. This is important, fundamental, but we can still do even more. The opening of this forum, especially a forum of women that may be debating this in a more positive way, is fundamental. And here, embraced by the National Confederation of Industry, we could not count with more favorable environment to this. Thank you very much. Let's have a round of applause for Patricia, please. Now, Daniella Marques, Secretary of Productivity and Competitiveness of the Ministry of the Economy, that has actually been thanked by everyone. Daniela, good morning, everyone. I'm quite spacious. Well, could you please introduce yourself and start making your comments? Good morning, everyone. I am Daniella Marques. I am currently Special Secretary of Productivity and Competitiveness at the Ministry of Economy, and currently working in the public service for the first time in my career that has been in the financial market, just like Patricia and Natalia. And we know what have been the pains and obstacles we've had to get thus far. Today, I came to the administration in the beginning with Minister Paulo Guedes. We're acting as Secretary of Strategic Topics, and we had great dreams of putting Brazil back in this path of prosperity, of turning the state more efficient, the state present where it should be, and it was too big. It was in the life of citizens, of micro entrepreneurs, to be acting in the vocation of people. So 500,000 licenses. Okay, restoring the staircase of a building, 5 different, you don't know what to do, you get a fine on the other. So we got with this cost control and reforms. There was one to encourage the environment of business, competitiveness, reducing red tape, and especially public policies and credit policies focused on SMEs and small and micro business people. We created this agenda with SEBRAE, with this institute, and we've been working relentlessly on this agenda with great success. So before I start my speech, I'd like to thank you very much. Greet Mr. the President Robson. Thank you very much for the institutional support. We have this strong agenda to reindustrialize Brazil, to actually reducing taxes, reduce red tape, and boosting industry, finding virtuous pathways. And I'm very grateful to be with you together, promoting women and accelerating this female process. Thank everyone present. Monica, you are a natural power. When we met, we embraced and we said, oh, nobody will keep us and will stop us. And she's being willing to do that. And she actually contaminates everyone. It's an honor to be sharing this initiative of union, of purpose, pathway, solutions with you and with all these dear friends that somehow have touched me in a way as I was designing this. I'm the second woman in the seat of the former Ministry of Commerce. Although I didn't want to embrace this agenda, they were going to push me and embrace me with them. And Yoko Ono said, when you dream alone, it's only one dream. When more people dream, it's the beginning of reality. So we are many, Ana Claudia, Ana Fontes, Janetti. There are so many dear women here that I had the honor to meet and share ideas and projects and purposes that are related to individual freedom, economic freedom, and this is a track that is for all that actually, and it is not related to policy or party bias. We're working to the whole society. It is an honor for me to be here. And when I took over the secretary with this innovation, entrepreneurship, technology, initiatives, we work with Minister Paulo Guedes on 2 main fronts this year to make the microeconomic reforms that we could for the past year. Going back to the beginning of the government, our dream is how to control costs and do reform. We reformed Social Security, economic freedom. We created a concession program that was very broad, based on demand of investments and not just grants. And Brazil started leaving this trap, controlling costs. We extinguished 40,000 positions. We wanted to transfer rich wealth to society. Unfortunately, we were affected by a pandemic. Moving to the second year, we're going to say, okay, let's do the tax reform. But this agenda of micro entrepreneurship, and then we go into health care crisis that impacted all of us in our lives, losing dear people to us. I lost people that were very close to me during the pandemic, but an economic crisis that nobody had ever seen. I joke with Minister Paulo Guedes, and I tell him, our government is not comparable to any. Nobody had to face the economic challenge, and the challenge it would be for you to conciliate a healthcare crisis with an economic crisis with such fast dynamic. You change the strategy, you close everything. I remember I was in the surgery room in the World Trade Center, and I was there. The New York airport closed for 6 hours, and it was an absurd crisis. We're talking about the crisis that closed the airspace in the world. There was lockdown. There we discussed supply crisis. Patrols were going to be shut. We had to pivot the strategy for a war policy. The government has not saved efforts to save lives, business, jobs. The banks were great supporters, and it was through digitization that we managed to support 68 million Brazilians. So there is great learning there in this process. Caixa Econômica did a great job when we formulated our grant. And Paulo Guedes said, well, my hotel is going to be shut down and I'm going to be expelled. You cannot leave Brasilia. We had to find a place for you to stay. They said, what about the taxi driver at the door and the people that work in the hotel? What's going to happen to them? They are not in any kind of assistance program of the government. And we had Pedro Guimarães, Bruno Bianco. Let's set up a social project. We need to provide a voucher of Milton Friedman. That was his insight. So we bankerized 20 million people and we provide assistance to 68 million Brazilians. This is the seed that has been sown. It's been sown, and it is through it that we're going to flourish, moving with this forum, within everything we've done of economic freedom. President Melis, our agenda is we're fulfilling another one, because actually we fulfilled the one that was proposed to us. If you take only what we have here in terms of basis 5G and granting the auction of 5G through capex investments and not grants, Caixa to the Union, we have 50 billion reais contracted to develop 5G.
We did develop the PIX, which is a tool that brought democracy to all financial transactions, and all the 68 million people that were included in the banking system. Well, we reduced, of course, over 40 million in rates and fees for the banks, but the payback will be much greater, we're sure. And if you consider tools like the PIX and other things we're doing, the instruments are out there, people are being included. And when you go to microcredit, you need to reduce bureaucracy, you need to provide and offer access and guarantees, but you will never have a balanced scorecard, know your client strategy for a public of 48 million micro entrepreneurs. So we're talking about 5.5 million micro enterprises opening every year without having a reduction in bureaucracy and with a speedier digital process that's more inclusive, as Patricia said. Well, I'm already in love with you. I am joining your fans. I know that there are many. I'm very happy to hear you. And in March, I heard you launched another program for Brazil Entrepreneurship for Women. What is that? Well, people ask me what is going on. First of all, we were creating the basis. Then we had to start the pandemic, to deal with the pandemic. And then And then we are now raising microcredit for many micro entrepreneurs. And today at the president's house, we will start a policy of entrepreneurial credit for banks to release all the public documents that are necessary. And this will be the first time using more digital processes. So using the learning curve that we experienced, we are now expecting 13 million MEIs, micro enterprises, to have more credit available. And when we were designing all that, the credit system, of course, has gone back to normal. The capitals market, last year we had a credit issuance of at the Brazilian Securities Exchange Committee, Bovespa, and I felt the women's pain because we had the problem with health, with the economy, and also for women. I am the mother of a 7-year-old boy. I had to teach my son to read and write during the pandemic and take care of the house. And whenever I was overwhelmed, I thought about all the people that couldn't go to work, but we were all overwhelmed, I'm sure. And we're talking about 2 years of public schools closed. So imagine women in the household. I know my child returned earlier because he goes to a private school, but I took a group of people who were working for the opening of public schools, who were advocating the opening of public schools, and now I'm working with these mothers, and this group is growing. We're very strongly connected with both entrepreneurship and the educational agenda. And that was when I had taken on this function at the Secretariat in February. So I decided to start a program for women, and I took part in the development of all these programs. The Auxílio Brasil program covers over 18 million families. Most of them have women as the leader of the household. These women, almost 14 million of them, they don't know that they can open an MEI and a formal micro entrepreneur status, and we're teaching them, we're telling them to go so that we can assist and support them. We need to promote these women. So this year for me is the Women's Year here because we need to recover. So I talked to Ana Claudia. I went to the Council for Entrepreneurial Women or Business Women, and they were also leading these similar programs. So I called them, I invited them to the government so that we can impact as many women as possible. So I went up to President Bolsonaro and I asked him for his support to start an agenda for business women. And he asked me, what do the women want? And at first I joked with him. I said, well, men will never know that. But what women really want is to have their own attitudes, no barriers for business, and they want to grow professionally. And there is a vocation involved. I am here because of vocation. That was always my vocation for the financial market. My father worked in a bank, and this vocation was inherited by me and not by my brother. So it doesn't matter whether you're a man or woman. And therefore, we are at least 80 years behind, as Monica said. So conquests were met in the recent past. If you have a child, you need to organize a budget for your child, just like a business. You have transport, food costs and all, and therefore the families need to see themselves as a business and not let things hamper the family simply because you have the vocation to work in an industrial segment. So Brazil comes from this wish to connect, this desire to connect the lower strata of the economy all the way to the top. We have so many millions invested in ESG. It's a very expensive agenda, and Brazil launches a national strategy for business women. We need to bring this to the center of our public policies and connect ministries and secretaries with the public banks, with the World Bank, with BNDES, the IBD, the CNI, Caixa, the labor unions, and all this organized civil society that is doing this work, this support work around. So this is our role, to get together, union, and I will not wait 100 years until the president of CNI is a woman and will work for women. So I'm trying to work with men, and especially around a union of, because our agenda is an urgent one, and I hope that these barriers will cease to exist in the short term, with a union of all leaderships, not only the female ones, also men, but especially all the entities that give us capillarity so that we can reach as many Brazilians as possible. Thank you, Danielle. Now we will hear Natalia Diaz, president of the Standard Bank. Thank you for being with us, Natalia. By hearing your history, I read about your history as a woman. So please tell us about your work, your Standard Bank, of course, but also about your own history, because you had to struggle a lot for being a woman in this market, right? Well, all women have to fight for their positions. Thank you very much, Marina, for your question. Thank you, President Braga of CNI, to support such a relevant initiative. Obviously, thanking Monica to head the forum and my colleagues at the panel. We can say that this forum is already a success. When you see in one same room the private and the public segment, men and women, to discuss diversity and the advance of women's entrepreneurship, it makes me very, very happy. Very happy to be here. Now, about myself, I've been working in the financial market for 30 years in major global institutions and always in investment banks. So I was accustomed to being the only woman in the room, working with project finance, with mergers and acquisitions, etc. And I thought this was just the normal situation. So I consider myself a late feminist. I woke up to this issue and started studying the potential impact we can bring to the world by encouraging and fostering the diversity when the CEO position in the bank became empty suddenly. I was responsible for generating a part of the bank's revenue, and I realized that I was not one of the possibilities to fill in the function. And I called one of our global leaders and said I had the desire to fill it in. And some months later, I received a call from Human Resources announcing that I was in the selective process. I competed against 9 men and I won. So just to tell you that it is not easy, but if you believe and if you fight, you make it. So since then, I have become an activist and a militant, and I always use these opportunities like today to shed some light on this topic, because we read a lot about it, but we don't know why diversity is being so much discussed right now. So we need a historical perspective. We need to understand the origin of all the differences and how, with more diverse organizations, we can reach better economic results. Marina put it very well. It's not a matter of ethics or moral. It's a matter of the economy. So women are being more qualified. We earn 3/4 of the men's wages, and it takes us much longer to advance in our career. For every 6 men who are promoted, 86 are women. For every 100 men who are promoted, only 52 women are women. And other figures show that even if Monica said about the women in leadership functions, women take over 30 years more to be able to reach this position. And the presence of women in company boards, I also lead a campaign to advance this. We are still occupying 16% of the seats in Brazil when we should be already at 30% of boards. Other studies show that more diverse companies, not only in gender, but other kinds of diversity, such as technical background, women have show a better performance than their peers. Data from McKinsey and that Marina showed in the beginning, but the Boston Group also has a study that the companies in the Fortune 500 in recent years, all the ones that had 3 or more women in the company board had 84% higher return on investment, 60% on capital invested, and 46% more in other returns. And another study by the BCG Group, for every dollar that we invest in a startup led by a woman, they invest 68 cents and men invest 31 cents. I'm not trying to show that men and women are different, but there is an inequality that has been being reduced. But we need to look towards the future. And when we do that, women are being more and more included in the job market. The female GDP is $24 trillion in 2020, higher than the GDP of the BRICS countries. So women have economic power, which is even greater because women make consumption and investment decisions that lead to 43 trillion in the global economy. So we have this great responsibility that is not being enjoyed because of our situation. And we must solve that. I like to begin with a scenario that might seem frightful, but so many good things are being done, as Daniella showed us with so many examples of what the government can do for us to advance in this agenda. Examples from India and other countries. In India, companies that are led by women pay 30% less tax. India has eliminated taxes on women's menstrual pads. This is a public health issue for women, and there are a series of other measures to be advanced. In South Africa also, which I know very well, there are policies for racial inclusion. The companies that promote education and training and that have more Blacks in managerial and top levels also have benefits from the government. This is a very good idea, by the way, to think about doing here in Brazil. In the private segment, I believe that obviously we must fight against discrimination and bias that we have and prejudice, and we need policies for women to advance further in this agenda. We need to discuss wage equality and even simple measures such as paternity leave for men, who can therefore help women more in the house, because women dedicate 11 hours more in their day to take care of the household, and this gets in the way of our careers. Also, a leave for grandmothers would be wonderful, right? And it's even better when you can bring the private and public segment together. There are many forms of blinded finance, as it's called, where you can promote guarantees for companies that are led by women, thereby reducing the risk, or offering guarantees for capital investment so that we can call in the private segment, which must be the greatest funder of these companies. And in conclusion, we have a very strong presence globally. our Santander bank. Especially in Africa, we have $1 billion funds for women to manage assets. They need to have a greater impact in the projects to be granted. We also have 2 social bonuses recently to fund access to housing and to invest in in companies led by women, in businesses led by women. And here in Brazil, there has been a series of initiatives in this direction. Congratulations, Natalia, Diaz. And Daniella would like to make a brief comment. We know we have time against us, but recently we launched a digital platform for women within the general government's platform. We started a public notice. We launched a public notice for a female strategy, a businesswomen strategy, including capacity building in finances, technology, and other areas. And we also have a public project for private entities, and we can connect the dots here because Brazil is a continental country. So any company that is close to this agenda, please be informed that we have started a public notice to work in partnership with the major companies' ESG areas, because of course, together we are stronger, and we believe very strongly in the public-private partnerships. Well, we have a first invitation. Now we are giving the word to the only man in this panel, Celso Barbosa, Vice President of Caixa Econômica Federal, which actually has offered cheaper credit to women this year. Good morning. I would like to thank CNI. I see President Robson and Carlos Medley asking each other, what is this man doing in this panel? But I would like to remind that Monica is responsible. She said we need a man here also to show that together we are more balanced and we can work better. One thing that President Pedro of the Caixa Econômica Bank did when he joined the bank was to include meritocracy. There were no women in the managerial bank, and today 30% of our executive level are women, and we work better, we deliver better results with diversity and with these women who were promoted by the president of the bank. We didn't have even 5% before. And here, I would also like to inform that our new management considers merit and also the level of credit that the bank needs. So Minister Paulo Guedes, provoked by the President Bolsonaro, started this, and in the US, you distribute checks by mail. Now we have implemented the digital transactions for millions of Brazilians all over the country. This was a wonderful irrigation of our economy, and it has fostered several segments. And today we have turned things around. And about the microcredit that you were discussing, 60% of our base are already micro entrepreneurial women. We made several campaigns in Mato Grosso and other states, many women coming for credit. We have over 2 million microcredit contracts only in the digital space for women who are even better at paying their credit. Default is much smaller among women. Please repeat that. They are better payers and more careful with the credit? Yes. Auxílio Brasil program is mainly for women, and in Brazil they do have a lower default rate. Women take better care of the credit they obtain. They preserve it better. And We have also focused the small and medium businesses. Before the program began for women, we launched one called FAMP, F-A-M-P, and today we will reach an important milestone in terms of numbers. So the FAMP project has already loaned 7 billion to small and mid-sized companies. It's an assisted credit, as we call it, so that we can improve the credit performance. We are still counting how many women are involved, but certainly this credit has been given to over 500,000 companies and businesses through a series of programs. Over 50 billion reais have been loaned, but not only for small businesses, for small, mid, and the value chain of the large companies also. We need to focus, target our credit. So we usually target an entire value chain, including the smallest businesses on that chain. And in the wholesale area, we have started a private bank, which is also led by women. It is focused on the agribusiness. This is another area that the president of the bank has brought in. This year, we will include 35 billion in the agribusiness. And today we are the second bank in this area. We used to be 8th. And now we have accelerated, and therefore Bank of Brazil and Caixa are investing in agribusiness. Another important segment is housing. The housing industry is also growing in our credit infrastructure credit. At the beginning, we subsidized franchises which needed credit, and our work was led by Caixa Insurance, Caixa Seguridade, so that we are working through one of our subsidiaries, and the chair of that area is also a woman, very important. And lastly, in conclusion, this kind of a rehearsal we had in March, we are bringing this to a new product which will enable us to provide better rates for businesses which have women CEOs or partners. Are we giving privilege to women? Yes, we are. This is what the balance scorecard said Daniella. So we have completed the rehearsal phase, and now we are bringing more credit to encourage companies to understand what Caixa is doing, and we are showing that together we work better, our performance is better, and the public money will be better taken care of. Celso Barbosa, Vice President of Caixa Econômica Federal, thank you for your participation here. Marina, a very interesting piece of information. When we look at all the data regarding women's impact, women as leaders in the household and in consumption decisions, but they only have 20% of credit available. So I called Caixa Econômica and I said, there's something going on. Women have the impression that the financial market is made for men. There's something we need to find out there. So we began to do this, and we were going to develop, we were about to develop our MEI project for the small entrepreneurs, and the Caixa Bank also started their own programs for women. And therefore, we had 22% increase in credit rate for women, and another very big increase in insurance. So we are 52% of the population, and I want to plant this seed of the economic impact brought by women. You can double your potential public. Please exploit this universe and make our environment attractive for them to arise and break down the barriers that we are trying to identify. Thank you, Danielle. And we have come to the end of our first panel, thanking all the participants. Celso from Caixa Econômica, Daniella, the Secretary for Productivity and Competitiveness in the government, Natalia and Patricia from the banks. Thank you very much. We'll be back soon.
Quando você imagina o futuro, como você se vê? Você já pensou o que precisa ser feito hoje para que ele seja melhor amanhã? Como as novas gerações vão escrever sua própria história? É preciso preparar jovens e profissionais para as mudanças do mundo, com ambientes que possibilitam o crescimento e estimulam a inovação. A indústria vê o presente com esse olhar no futuro, com mais produtividade, com mais competitividade, com mais empregos. Assim, atua na educação básica e profissional com metodologias inovadoras. Investe na segurança e saúde de profissionais e de seus ambientes de produção. Onde muitos veem apenas máquinas, a indústria olha para novos empregos, geração de renda e uma economia mais forte. Acredita que pesquisa é mais que investimento. E sabe que precisa de profissionais capacitados para que as mudanças e descobertas aconteçam. Defende a inovação e possibilita que recursos sejam melhor utilizados e revoluções saiam do papel, tanto no setor público quanto no privado. É assim que CNI, SESI e SENAI trabalham para a indústria brasileira, para que ela seja mais competitiva, inovadora, global e sustentável. Porque o fazer agora é colocar nas suas mãos hoje o futuro que você deseja amanhã.
We will be back in a few moments. Please return to your seats, and we would like to thank everyone who is online with us. We will now start the second panel, and I would like to invite to the stage of our studio in Brasilia, the president of the Electricity Trade Chamber, CCEE, Rose Santos, President of AES, Clarissa Sadoki, Vice President of Comerc Trading Association, Pedro Corbi. Please take your seats at the studio. We will begin the second panel in a few moments. Please take your seats. I will now give the floor to Marina. Thank you, Ximenes, very much. We showed the coffee table and people got excited and rushed there, but please come back because we will not only have a new panel, but we have an international participant with us. Nisa is already with us, the president of World Trade Centers India. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Marina. Namaste from India. Thanks, Marina. World Trade Center Noida is one of the largest World Trade Centers in terms of the acreage. It is spread across 42 acres, almost 50 acres, and plus 5,000 acres has been dedicated by the government of Uttar Pradesh, that is the state that we are in India, for the development of the first global electronic city. And World Trade Center Noida is the nucleus of that electronic city. We have been pivotal in developing the complete ecosystem for the electronic system design manufacturing, in which Vivo is a major anchor, Vivo Mobiles, and has taken up 2.3 million square feet of campus. In addition, we've got almost 350 startups that we have, which have graduated from the World Trade Center Noida, and at present, 60 plus of them are being housed there at present. As far as sustainability in World Trade Center Noida is concerned, we have built right from the design of the towers to the actual possession and the users. Everything is sustainable. When I say that right from the design, so we factored it, the design of the World Trade Center is spread across 50 acres. There are 20 towers. In India, we do not, most of the corporates prefer, because of the climate, because of the weather, they prefer not very large towers. So we have towers, which are the largest tower that we have is 23 floors, but generally we have ground plus a combination of ground plus 5, ground plus 7, and ground plus 10. The only tower that we have is the largest one, which we have, or the tallest one that we have is 23 floors. And it is designed on the principles of temples of work. The temples of work is such that for us, we believe that World Trades, that temple is where gods are worshipped, but in World Trade Center, it is work which is worshipped. So the hero of our World Trade Center are the workspaces, and these workspaces are very dynamic, very adaptable, and we have factored the sun path, so that lights, so that we have maximum light, we have energy efficient mechanisms included in them. We have, there is, in fact, we take a lot of pride that World Trade Center Noida is 30% efficient, 20% water sustainable, because of the rain harvesting and various other elements that we have actually used for conserving and recycling water. We have 20%, 10%, which is where 15% wherein the design and the elements which are being put in the World Trade Center increases human productivity, and there's less attrition. So 30, 20, 15, that is the principle that we are working on. We have included an organic farming. Our terraces are organic farming. You can actually pluck the vegetables and the fruits from the farms that we have on the terrace, which actually help bring the cooling down. We have renewable energy. We have wastewater management. We have recycling. We have rain harvesting. So the temples of work of the World Trade Center is not just concrete of 20 towers, but a concrete jungle of 20 towers, but complete amalgamation of blue and green architecture. I am.
I would like to apologize. I've been speaking in English, and Claire will receive the simultaneous interpreting. Well, although Brazil is part of the BRICS, and as well as India, we still have a very shy trading relationship. How do you think we can connect industry and the WTC to help us improve this?
Marina, it is not only about the BRICS, but we also have many multifaceted relationship with Brazil, like in the plurilateral foray, like BASIC, G20, G4, IBSA, International Solar Alliance, and BioFuture Platform, and various collaborations with various multilateral bodies such as the UN, WTO, UNESCO, and WIPO. But having said that, I would like to actually tell you and highlight in this forum that our relationship, that India and Brazil relationship, is a very, very strong relationship. And when we look at the population of India, we're looking at 1.35 billion people. And when we are looking at a population of Brazil, which is 200 million plus, so the combined market size we are looking at is 1.55 billion. And when we are looking at the economy size, India is a $3 trillion US economy, whereas Brazil is $2 trillion economy. So combinedly, we are a $5 trillion industry. So there's a huge, but at the same time, what we are seeing that our current trade is at $7 billion US. So there's a huge potential for us between India and Brazil to explore opportunities for trade and for business. And the ways that we could look at is that Brazil, looking at the various agreements like the Mercosur agreement and looking at the BRICS and G20 and all, we see India looks at Brazil as a gateway to not just South America, but also to Latin America and the Caribbean countries. Similarly, Brazil needs to look at India as a gateway to not just Indian market, which is one of the largest, the third largest consumer market, but at the same time, the Middle Eastern market and the Southeast Asian countries. So both of these countries can act as gateways, and the World Trade Center can be a catalyst to this trade, the potential of $5 trillion US in that economy, and taking the trade from a $7 billion US to newer, to much aggressive trade between the two countries. The World Trade Center in Noida and the World Trade Centers in Brazil, like the Sao Paulo and other World Trade Centers that we have, this network can actually act as a catalyst and to increasing trade, to facilitating technology transfers, to facilitating technology sharing, to facilitate investments. So,
thank you very much, Claire. If you could stay with us a little longer, we will ask you a question in a few moments, okay? Will you stay with us?
Yeah, sure. Of course.
Now I want to invite Rosi Santos from the Chamber of Electrical Energy Trade, CCEE. Rosi Santos, board member. Good morning. I would like to begin by congratulating President Robson Braga for this initiative, and also to acknowledge and thank Monica Monteiro for the wonderful opportunity of this new forum. I am sure that we will carry out wonderful work and projects in it. Rose, to begin, I would like to say that on the 27th, next Friday, the government will start the new energy auction. How is the demand looking for you? Well, the auction is being organized. Unfortunately, it's all confidential. We cannot discuss it. This is the million-dollar question in the market, but unfortunately, we cannot reveal the expected demand. We do expect it will be a success, and of course, everybody does, but we need to be very strategic for this to happen. But we do believe it will be successful. We hope so. And about the search for new sources of energy in the country, talk to us about this.
I'd like to tell you a little bit about CC. is a chamber of commercialization of electric power. As part of the institutional governance of the electric sector, is responsible for actually making the trading of electric power feasible in the country. It's important to say that while we're talking about opportunities, diversity, inclusion, the role of women, and before going to this universe only electrical, I'd like to say that our electric industry has been looking into the female issue at CCE. We started the movement, which is Women in Faith. It is of reducing and reaching equity in our organization. We today have 39% women at CCE at managerial levels, but what we lack actually, not only at CCE, I cannot even say that we have 2 women in the board. So for 3 men, well, I think it's quite diverse, but I think what's missing for us to work in our industry, although it's moved ahead quite a lot, is that we managed to get more seat levels within the electric industry, not only in support activities as the legal, administrative, but also in the business area. In the electric industry, this is a great agenda for the female universe. Going back to CCE and going back to our role, we have the purpose of developing energy markets that are efficient, innovative, sustainable, to the benefit of the whole of society. As a vision for 2030, we want to be a world reference in the operation of energy markets. So we are working hard towards that. That when we talk about the future of our industry, we should talk about energy transition. I think energy transition is already taking place, and it will become it is becoming more solid throughout processes. For that, we have certain conditions of parameters that are very important that have started to happen. Maturing of the free market. In other words, we started the free market way back when in 1995 with a law that was passed. We have requirements that were very strict, and it matured and it was modeled to be more open. And today we are faced with this imminent opening. When we talk about market opening, we're talking about participation and opening to all, not only for large consumers, but also in the future, in the midterm, all our consumers linked to some kind of utility or distributor. There are the relevant aspect, which is the modernization of the electric industry, that is the empowerment of consumers. We move from a mindset in which the generation or perhaps the supply was the major driver in the market, and we move to another mindset in which the demand or the load will be the great watershed, quote unquote, the driver of the liberalization and democratization of this market. This movement demands a systemic, holistic viewpoint that has been worked within this project of modernizing the electric power industry, driven by this administration coming from the previous one. Some measures have been taken, and some other initiatives are going to be materialized through an ordinance. Once we have an open market, we'll find 3 major factors, which will actually be increase of renewable sources and use and resolution of the intermittent sources. Today in Brazil, we see European countries being more renewable, 50% renewable, but we have a great advantage, which is actually worldwide advantage. Since we had a source that was predominantly water, we can say we are 85% renewable, considering our water source history, our wind power, and our sun power. We have to talk about distributed energy resources. So we are moving towards a moment in which we are born very renewable. We're moving from a bias that was centralizing vertical to a decentralized bias that is horizontal, in which we're going to have a mix with these distributed energy resources with the centralization of these renewable sources. So what we had before as reservoir from the standpoint of an operation in our system, we're going to hear very shortly that reservoir were going to be batteries of these sources for distributed generation and also solar power. It's important for us to note that the very technology, not only talking about renewable battery or nature itself, our reservoirs, but the technology of batteries that previously, if we talked about 4 or 5 years ago, they were extremely expensive and a bit more difficult to be placed in the market today. Today, studies have been accumulating. So we have information studies proving that batteries are going to be feasible in the market. Well, actually talking about lithium here, we have a great reserve in our country. So we see there is a great change in mindset, which the consumer is the great driver of everything. The idea is that for this to happen will require a lot of technology in the digital world. The idea is that in the future, we should be in the following situation. I'm at home and I have a gadget, my cellular phone or another gadget whatsoever, saying at what time I want to save energy. I may say the following: I don't want Clarice or Pedro AS and Comerc anymore, but I want to connect to Marina, who also is involved in energy, and you'll be able to do that in your mobile network through your hotspot on your TV channel. Portability. So we say that it is an energy electronic subscription that we're going to have in the future. So for that, we're working in all regulatory transformations. Vast debate with society. We only talk about this. I think it is a very timely moment for a lot of investments. So we're talking about an open market and a market that is safer as well at CCE. We have been acting in 5 strategic fronts, very much in line as to what is happening to the modernization of the industry and this current situation of opportunities, which are opening of the market security. We cannot open the market without having a safe market. And then we have this context of discussing guarantees and discussing the legal sustainability for the sustainable growth of the market opening to market energy. We are studying an economic model to deliver, whether it will be by price offer or computational model. We're talking about issuing of seals or stamps and green stamps. And so we have this rich moment that the electric industry is taking part, and we actually have the flexibilization of the regulated market where we have distributors and our captive consumers are considering all of this. I think we could talk about the electric industry for hours. We have a short time. What I mean to say is that we have a very rich moment to invest, to work, and also to tell women. I think this is the agenda of business women, that we're going to do beautiful work of complementarity and addition to what we have. And it is with great joy that I am here. I actually thank for the opportunity for us to actually join these efforts and doing a lot. Thank you very much, Rosie Santos, Council for the Chamber of Commercialization of Electric Power. Now I'm going to welcome Pedro Cobra, Vice President of Comerc. I love the work you do because you are here to help me consume less energy. This is something everybody wants at home, considering the company's bills. Technology today allows you to have personalized solutions. Rose started talking about the future that I wish would be tomorrow, but tell us a little bit about Comerc's work. How can we reduce these energy spending? Thank you very much. I think this forum is very important for us to disseminate everything that is happening to the electric industry and how changing decarbonization, energy transition are totally linked to competitiveness. We are here at CNI, a place that an institution that thinks about it, boosting and growing national industry, and the electric industry is one of the drivers. It should be one of the main drivers for competitiveness in the country. And Comerc is very much in line with that. Our main product is actually, we don't have a main product. Our main action is the end consumer, to look at the solution we can provide our customers so that they can be more competitive and be successful. Comerc is a company that is relatively young. It's 20 years old. It was born in the part of client management, having a client-centered decisions, making decisions, guiding, and actually giving advice as to how to save energy in a free market that was relatively small. It was just starting. Today, approximately 33% of the national load is in the free market. So it's an energy consumption that is substantial, but it represents 30,000 customers. We have the rest of the country, 50 million of consuming units, responsible for the other 70% of consumption that have no access to the free energy market. So I believe the role of Comerc is to think about how to democratize the energy industry, to share competitiveness, lower cost for any business person, entrepreneur or micro entrepreneur, as a lot has been said in the previous panel.
Comerc started its professional career in management. We joined the energy trade market by providing not only the best solution to our customers, but also providing energy to the customers. And in the last year, Comerc took a great leap by joining Vibra. Vibra is one or the major fuel distributor and this is an attempt to search for reduced carbon in this market. We also joined and entered the generation segment, especially wind power, both in decentralized and centralized systems. Decentralized or centralized meaning having the source in the company's rooftop or land for those customers who still do not have access to the free market. So the three of us, I can say, are searching for greater democracy in this market with access to cheap and competitive energy and power for those who want to drive and accelerate their businesses. We provide energy efficiency and the best solutions in generation and flexibility to help our customers and to offer a more dynamic context for the country to generate more jobs and activity and competitiveness. So this is like the seed which you discussed in the last panel. The seed is being planted so that all businesses around it can be more and more competitive. Technology, efficiency, and clean energy are the drivers at Comerc, our energy company, and we are offering this to our end customers. Thank you very much, Pedro Curbi, Vice President of Comerc. Now we will hear Clarissa Sadoc, President of AES. I was impressed by AES's project, Clarissa. It says it is wind farm in the interior of Bahia state is training women to operate and maintain wind farms. This Tucano wind farm, in it, 100% of the operation is led by women. Is this information true and actual, and that you aimed at reaching 15% of women? Now you have 32%, and you want even more for the years to come. So AES is way ahead. Thank you very much for the opportunity and for the lessons we learned from the power segment here. We are certainly going through a unique change in our segment, and it's really a lot of fun to participate in this process. As I said, together with the process of bringing energy change, we are also talking a lot about our end consumers. And 10 years ago, this didn't happen in the power segment. We need to care for our consumers, bring a lot of innovation to our operations, and diversity will come in the wake of this discussion and of these actions. So how can we improve what we do and do it differently as our customers are asking for? And we have also been focusing on diversity. Our operations team, well, 3 or 4 years ago, we had a team that led our assets, and almost 98% were men. What can we do to change this scenario and speed up change? Nothing better than speed up the company's growth to bring more women into operations. So as you mentioned, Tucano is a wind farm in the north of Bahia. It's being completed in the end of the year and will start its operations. And since 2020, we have been working on the project to have it 100% operated by women. So in 2020, we started a partnership with SENAI to train these women. In 21 and 22, we are training the women so that they can operate this wind farm and both operations and maintenance, so that this year they would finally start working actually. So all this has been planned with targets. We received an enormous number of resumes with an infinite number of very qualified women who were not specifically qualified to operate a wind turbine. It doesn't mean that they were wonderful engineers or other such careers. So the project has been going on, and a lot of people have been asking in the last 2 years whether our diversity plan includes a maturing process. Of course it does, because together with ESG and net zero carbon, we have been in the learning curve. But so 2 years ago, people asked us, can a woman operate a wind farm? Will they be strong enough to do that? And trying to bring the more physical aspect or anatomical. And we responded, where does it come from, this idea that women have to be physically strong? There's much more technology involved in wind power than you can believe. So it was very successful. We are replicating the project in Rio Grande do Norte, a state more to the north in Brazil, which is even larger than this current wind farm, and we're starting a partnership as we did with Senai in the second wind farm, and we want to leave this legacy to the states and to society, because we are training twice the number of people that we need to operate the park. So we will leave qualified professionals. Most of the solar wind capacity is solar and wind power capacity in the Northeast is very, very big, and this can give us the opportunity to bring more wealth to the poorer areas. And we also have peers or neighbors who will be able to enjoy and use the qualified resources we will leave there. Thank you so much for your participation, Clarissa Sadok. We are still not done. We will continue our conversation. And now I will invite Care, who has been listening to our panel.
Thank you.
You are the chair of the World Trade Center. What opportunities do you envision after listening to our panel? What opportunities do you see in the areas of energy, bioenergy, and ethanol to connect with the Brazilian industry?
Well, I see a lot of opportunity, not, in areas of agriculture, in areas of bioenergy. We, as India, is largely an agrarian economy. 70% of our economy is agrarian, and 58% contributes to the employment of Indians through the agriculture. Very recently, our Prime Minister has signed the agreement with Brazil, largely on the renewable energy and biotechnology. Let me zoom out a little bit. When I look, let me actually tell you about the market potential of India, when it comes to bioenergy and biotechnology. We have, in COP26, our Prime Minister took upon that India is going to be net zero by 2070. But that means there needs to be a huge capacity building, a huge investment that we need to be investing in these technologies. And we are very far behind in India from becoming a net zero. 2070 is a huge task, but we've divided into smaller goals of 2030, 2050, 2070 to take us to a complete net zero. If I look at but in spite of that, if I look at the statistics that we have, we are ranking third in renewable energy. We are fourth largest in the installed capacity of renewable energy. We have the fourth largest installed capacity in wind power, and we have got the fifth largest installed capacity of solar. While we might be ranking third, fourth, and fifth, there's a potential of 1,000+ gigawatt renewable energy that we need to be setting up in India. But before that, in 2030, we are looking at an ambitious target of 175 gigawatt renewable power. We need to be moving away from our fossil fuels to biomass and bioenergy, building up those capacities. The potential, and when we look at Brazil, when we know that Brazil has a competitive advantage, they are the second largest in terms of, after US, in terms of the bioenergy. So, and looking at the relationship and the bilateral relationship that we have with BRICS and other agreements, mutual bilateral agreements, that Brazil can actually lead us to meet our target, our net zero target. And we could have, right from the technology transfer, capacity building, investments being brought in, the opportunities are immense in India, because of the ambitious target, because of the target of becoming net zero, the availability of the resource that we have in India, of the agriculture, and the market and the market size that India is offering in terms of the urbanization, in terms of the increasing prosperity, in terms of the economic growth, in terms of the rural electrification, because it's not only the urbanization, but it's also the rural India which is growing for us. So bioenergy becoming as the next source of energy is what India is actually targeting, is moving towards, and is making lucrative policies to invite investments from Brazil and other countries. And there are companies in India which are becoming very, very open for these joint ventures, for these partnerships, for these collaborations. So I think huge potential when it comes to bioenergy in India, and a huge possibility for Brazil and India to take. We are at the right place at the right time to be doing that, because both our governments are very, very open. They are making they're making agreements. They are creating policies which actually encourage. And in the start of the session, I did hear that India is actually encouraging women entrepreneurship, and women, not only women entrepreneurship, but involvement of women in the mainstream economy, right from the reduction, the giving women advantages in the taxes. There are a lot of subsidies, there are a lot of rebates, there are a lot of reimbursements which are given to women entrepreneurs and women businesses. So there are huge opportunities, not only for the bio in India as a market, in the in the alternate renewable energy, and also for women entrepreneurs. There are huge opportunities which are available in India.
Thank you very much, Care. Oh, sorry. Thank you very much, Care. I know you have a lot to do. Thank you very much, the chair of WTC India, Care Nisa. Thank you so much for your participation, and namaste.
Namaste. And I would like to end my namaste with the invitation. I would like to actually say my namaste with an invitation to all people of Brazil, especially the women entrepreneurs of Brazil, to come to India, and we will facilitate, as a WTC, we will ensure that we are facilitating end to end for the businesses to happen. Namaste. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
And I would like to thank all our speakers, Josi Santos, board member of the Trading Chamber for Electricity, Pedro Curbi from Comerc, and Clarissa Sadoki, president of AES. Thank you so much. We thank our moderator, journalist Marina Machado, and we ask you to remain in your seats, because right now we will celebrate the technical cooperation agreement between the Special Secretariat of Productivity and Competitiveness of the Ministry of the Economy, the service for supporting micro and small businesses, the National Service of Industrial Learning, the National Department, and the Social Service for the Industry, besides the National Trade Service of Learning. They will sign the launch of the Brasil para Elas program, established on March 8th, 2022. The signatories are Daniella Consentino, Special Secretary for Productivity, Jobs, and Competitiveness in the Ministry of the Economy.
This group here makes us have an outreach of almost 5,000 municipalities in the country. It's strengthening everyone. Thank you all very much. I am speechless. Robson Braga de Andrade, president of the National Council of SENAI and director of the National Department of SESI. Carlos do Carmo Andrade Melis, Director President of SEBRAE. José Roberto Tadros, President of the National Council of SENAC. I request all of you to stay on stage. I'd like to invite all our board members to take a photo. You ladies, board members, come to the stage to record this extremely important moment for Brazilian business women. Please, kindly, let's have all the board members on the stage for an official photo. We are following the launch of the National Business Women Forum at the CNI studio in Brasilia. We take the opportunity to invite you all to get to know the Industry Observatory. The National Confederation of Industry, CNI, and the National Business Women Forum, thank you all for your presence, both in person and online. And we would now close this event. We wish you all a great end of morning. CNI for the future of industry.